Hey, let me explain how to create cohort reports inside master metrics. So let's say in this example, your pipeline, starts with a call schedule, right? So for example, you create a new deal in your pipeline every time you schedule a call, and then you can move that deal to call completed, then to proposal sent, and then to close one, right? Let's keep it simple. So basically the cohort here is the date the deal was created, right? Since that is the fixed date month over month. So for example, like I was saying, you have 30 calls that were scheduled in June, and 15 of them, moved to call completed at some point in time, right? So some of them maybe moved to call completed in June, some maybe in July, some maybe in August, right? That's the whole point of being a cohort, okay? So how do you create this inside master metrics? So once you added your Hubspot data source, sorry, I was saying you can create a query metric. Let's start with the first metric called scheduled Hubspot. We're counting deals, right? And the date is going to be the date created. Pretty simple. So this value here is basically forgetting this value here. Now we can add it. If we want to track how many of those were moved, to call completed at some point in time, we have to create another metric. The date is the same, right? Since we are the cohort is fixed in the date the deal was created in this case. But now what we're gonna do is we're gonna filter it by deals, and the property is basically date entered call completed. So filter is not empty. So if at some point in time it moved to call completed, basically it means it entered right to that stage. So this is the way we're gonna filter it. Then we're going to do the same thing for call scheduled to proposal sent. And for the close to one, sorry about that. We can, for example, date enter close one. Okay, it's not empty. So once you have these metrics created, right, what you can do then is in a dashboard, for example, you can add a table, and we can, choose the metrics. Cohort pipeline, and you can group it by day, week, month, quarter, or year. Let's say, I don't know, by month for last quarter, whatever. So here it's the obviously this is a demo data, right? So we don't have a lot of data in it, but I guess you get the idea. So now if you want to get the percentages, like basically these numbers here, right? The 50%, which is 15 divided by 30, the 20, which is 6 divided by 30, you're going to create, what we call calculated metrics, which are basically right here. As you can see, a calculated metric is basically one metric divided by the other. So in this case, what you're going to do is create a calculated metric and do calls, scheduled to completed divided by call scheduled, and then calls, scheduled to proposal sent divided by calls scheduled, and so forth, right? Once you created all your calculated metrics, you can add them to the table. I'm sorry, I think we were in this one here we previously created, okay? So what else? What happens if you want to use another cohort, right? So for example, let's say you want to start the cohort when the call was completed. So instead of starting with the call scheduled, you want to see how many calls were completed each month, and then from the calls completed in June, how many moved to proposal sent, and then how many moved to closed won. In that case, what you can do is you create a metric, let's say, for example, calls completed. You're going to count deals, and the date. In this case, instead of using the date created, it's going to be date enter call completed, right? So this is the first metric, calls completed. And now, if we want to see, sorry, we already have this one. Let me put a tweet in there. Now, if we want to see how many of those reached proposal stage at some point in time, basically what we're going to do is calls completed to proposal sent. Okay, that's it. So that is the way you do it. That's obviously, then you can add a new table, add the metrics, then do the calculated metrics and so forth. And if you want to see, for example, hey, I want to see the conversion rate from proposal sent to closed won, basically what you're going to do is add a calculated metric which divides this number by this one, right? So it's the same thing. So this 17% is basically close to 1 divided by call schedule, 5 divided by 30. But if you want to do the percentage that converts from proposal to close, you're going to do 5 divided by 6, right? So you can do that as well. And, the whole idea is to see how cohorts perform over time. So like I was saying, in this example, we created the tables, by month, but you could, group this and say, hey, I want to see this, I don't know, by week for this month or this quarter or whatever, specific date you want. So you have it, week over week. Additionally, you can add filters and say, hey, I want to see the cohort performing report, but I want to see it for a specific campaign or for a specific user. In that case, you can add a filter and, for example, say something like, hey, I want to see, I don't know, the owner, the contact owner is any of a specific user, right? And you choose it. And in this case, what it will do, it will filter, right, the table for that specific user.